Well, hello there, my music lovers. I'm Joshua Audiophile Heaven, and today we're having a look at the Questyle M15. This is a DAC / headphone amplifier, or a dongle DAC as we are calling them right now. It is priced at $250 at the moment of making this video review, and it has many unique technologies inside, plus a little spoiler, it has a ton of driving power. So let's get down. I wonder why I always say let's get down. I should say let's get up, because this is exciting news. This is the Questyle M15. It looks like your average daily dongle driver, but it has a glass panel through which you can see the circuitry inside. You may have noticed that I'm a fan of such things because I have my computer with a glass panel, so obviously I will be a fan of the design and aesthetic of the Questyle M15. At $250, it is one of the most pricey dongle DACs that I have reviewed, but this one can decode MQA, it can decode DSD and PCM in high resolution, it has an ultra low power consumption despite having an extremely high driving power. It has two headphone outputs, one balanced in the 4.4mm format and one single-ended in the 3.5mm format, and it has an ASS DAC chip. Inside the package you can find two cables, one Type-C to Type-C and one Type-A to Type-C, so that we can connect it both to a laptop and to a smartphone. The little accordion introduction paper doesn't really include much technical data, so we are left with the unit and to try it on. The first thing I've noticed about the Questyle M15 is that it didn't work at first, and I was shocked. I thought that I would have to send it back, and since this is my first time reviewing a Questyle product, I actually assume that they are going to be angry. So what you have to do is to insert the Type-C connector into the Questyle M15, take out your smartphone, very beautiful wallpaper I have right here with my girlfriend, then insert the Questyle M15 into your smartphone and nothing happens. It doesn't really turn on. Why? Why does that happen? And then an idea sparkled in my head. What would happen if I just plugged in some IEMs or headphones? And that is exactly what I've done. I took my trusty Sivga pickaxe and I plugged them in to the smartphone. Really long cable on those ones. When you plug the cable of your headphones into the M15, it powers up. My best guess, because I don't have any kind of confirmation, is that this is a power saving feature. It shouldn't draw power from the smartphone until it is told to do so. You can start playing, and I guess that it will start playing extremely loud. On computer it started playing at 100, and let me tell you, I was afraid that I burnt the Sivga pickaxe. This is how loud it was playing. It was as if I was listening to my speakers. That is how loud it got. So you increase the volume until you are almost uncomfortable with it. I was listening to copyrighted music there, so I should stop. But that is about it with the operation of the Questyle M15. This is pretty much everything you need to know about its operation. We have a gain slider between low and high gain, but the difference between the low and the high gain is minimal. I would keep it on low gain this time around. This is the only unit I had so far in my entire reviewing experience where I actually prefer the low gain. This is because the Questyle M15 has too much power. It has too much driving power. It is too loud. At this point, I consider it to be way too loud. It has more than enough power to drive the Sennheiser HD800S, Audeze LCD XC, Audeze LCD 2C, pretty much every single headphone that I've had. I mean, besides HiFiMan HA6SA, it can drive HiFiMan Araya Stealth, HiFiMan Air 9, HiFiMan Edition XS, HiFiMan Ananda, pretty much every single headphone that I've had today. Roson RAD0, it is way too strong. This tiny unit has way too much driving power for a portable, and that got me thinking, what is up with it? What's up with the Questyle M15? Why is it so strong? Why does it have so much driving power? So I started listening to it at quieter volumes to protect the hearing, and I started analyzing its sound, and it sounds incredible. I mean, it costs $250. It should be able to overcome music players that cost $250. You'd expect that, because otherwise it wouldn't make much sense as an investment. First, you should know that it doesn't really get warm or hot during usage. It is a pretty cool running unit. At least from my testing so far, I have about 24 to 20 degrees Celsius in my room because it is summer and I have the air conditioner turned on, and it just stays pretty cool. It doesn't really get very hot. I also noticed that it works flawlessly. I had no dropouts, no random volume adjustments that I didn't intend to do. It is pretty much perfect. It doesn't have its own volume adjustment, so it relies on the system of your source, for example on the Windows volume control or on the Android volume control for smartphones, but it works flawlessly. I had absolutely no issue with it. It should be able with iPhones too, provided you have the right cable, a Lightning to Type-C cable, because it has a Type-C input. I noticed that there is some difference between the balanced and the single-ended connector. I would recommend using the balanced connector if it is possible. If you have a headphone that is balanced or cables that are balanced, the balanced connector tends to sound better. It tends to have better control, better overall dynamics, and better clarity. It also has a slightly higher volume, which already was not a problem. The volume is not a problem. It is quite loud already. The overall sonics of the Questyle M15 places it at the top of most dongles that I've heard today. Most dongles don't really have this kind of punch, dynamic, and clarity as the Questyle M15. It is just incredibly explosive, incredibly dynamic, and incredibly punchy. It is so engaging to listen to it. It is just engaging, it is just punchy, it is very colorful and very vivid. On the other hand, I should tell you this, it is extremely good at revealing treble. So it has a very sparkly treble, a tone of air, and a very clear treble. It has a very strong bass, and at times it feels that it is a more U-shape in the overall signature than my main source, which is the Audiophile SA180. I'm using that one the most because I found it to pair the best with most EMs and headphones. And this one tends to be a bit bolder in the sub bass. It also tends to have a slightly sparklier treble, especially in the upper treble and the main treble body, not necessarily a very hot upper mid-range or a lower treble, and it tends to be extremely detailed, clear, and sparkly. I actually have a worthy competitor that I'm working on reviewing at the moment, the DD Hi-Fi TC44C. This is the main competitor that I have, and the DD Hi-Fi TC44C actually sounds considerably warmer, smoother, and has less driving power. Comparing them to each other, I can actually drive this to its maximum volume from my Windows computer, but I cannot drive the Questyle M15. The M15 gets too loud from my computer. It is higher than I typically listen to. And trust me, I'm the kind of guy who goes to concerts, so I'm used to listening quite loud. The TC44C is actually a bit smoother. It also has a slightly lower background noise, while the Questyle M15 tends to have a very slightly higher background noise level. But you are going to be listening louder than you would hear the background noise, and this is something that I've noticed with the Questyle M15. It tends to make you listen quite loud. It is either medium or loud listening volumes with this one, and it tends to be absolutely enjoyable. It is a delight to listen to it. It can drive EMs and headphones very well. I have noticed no problem driving EMs. For example, I have noticed no high background noise levels. It doesn't really have a high output impedance because I noticed no hissing with EMs like the Campfire Atlas or Ambient Acoustics Mod 24 or the Unique Melody Mixed or the Mest Mark II. It tends to have a very clear instrument separation, so it is good at separating the instruments, and it has a very wide soundstage. The soundstage tends to be wider more than it is deep, so it has more width, it is more holographic and more spatial than it is deep. It has a slightly lower depth, but that bold sub bass actually helps a lot with the lows. It has such a delightful sub bass that I am going to say this is incredibly good for bass heads too. I think that if you are looking for a dongle DAC/headphone amplifier that can drive pretty much everything and which is pretty minimalistic in size, but which has an excellent driving power, the Questyle M15 should be it. It should be able to quench your audiophile thirst for music and for power, and I do actually like this. I'm going to be making a full written review too. One of the most prominent competitors that I should be comparing the Questyle M15 to is the IEMs Sparrow, because the Sparrow also can decode MQA, the M15 too. Both of them have a lot of driving power, and both of them are made by companies who wanted to make the tiniest yet strongest possible dongle DAC. Comparing the M15 to the IEMs Sparrow, I think that the M15 ends up having more driving power. It tends to run cooler. The IEMs Sparrow tended to go hotter while in usage. This one tends to have a wider soundstage, and it tends to have a better sub bass, where the IEMs Sparrow was a bit more neutral in general, so it was brighter and also more neutral. The Questyle M15 has a bolder sub bass, it has more depth in the sub lows, it also tends to have a smidgen more sparkle in the treble and the upper treble. At the same time, it tends to have a slightly better detail than the IEMs Sparrow. I should also be comparing the Questyle M15 to the DAC Port HD. The DAC Port HD also has a ton of driving power, but it is meant to be a Class A dongle DAC, while I didn't read in any location that the Questyle M15 would be a Class A dongle DAC, so I don't think it is Class A, it is just extremely good with driving power. You can actually see the power amplifiers and such if you look really closely. The DAC port HD actually has a warmer sound with less treble and a thicker overall sound, but at the same time the DAC port HD tends to have slightly lower details. The M15 tends to have better detail than the DAC port HD. It also has a higher driving power, which is shocking, and a lower background noise, which means that the Questyle M15 kinda wins, but it is also more expensive, so it was kinda expected for it to win. It is more expensive than all of the competitors that I can compare it to. At $250 US, it is more of a competitor to mid-range music players or dubs than it is to other dongle DACs. So yeah, it has the performance to make up for its price point, and I think it will end up being very recommended, maybe even in the Audiophiles Heaven Hall of Fame. You should be looking forward to my written reviews, because in the written I am more clear. It is much easier for me to write than it is to speak. Don't know, acting is still kinda hard, boys, you know? Now, I want to make one final warning to you, my viewers. You should try to listen at safe listening volumes. I just have been to a concert recently, because we just had concerts again in Romania, and I had the pleasure to be reminded that I'm the kind of guy who goes to concerts, who has a ton of fun, actually drinks, and has a blast at concerts, but I wear hearing protection. And I went with some friends and none of them didn't bring any hearing protection nor intended to wear. Guys, just listen to me. Wear hearing protection. Don't go to live concerts at 130 decibels with no hearing protection. You'll regret later. When I was young, I have been to 1 or 2 concerts with no hearing protection, and for almost a week I couldn't hear right after the concert. So you should always bring hearing protection with you. When you have nothing that you could use as a hearing protection, you should use some of those webbed napkins. You make a little roll and you push them in your ear, or you could use just normal cotton. Anything would work, just don't go without any kind of hearing protection to a concert. Trust me, you will regret it if you do. I actually convinced my girlfriend to try hearing protection at this concert, and she was thankful, because the entire sound was much better after having your ears plugged with something. Usually concerts are taken so loud that you just don't really hear the music. With hearing protection, it was a blast. I want to thank to the band, the Riff Raff band, which is an AC/DC cover band from Italy. They played in Romania, in Bucharest, and it was a very fun experience. I want to thank to you, my viewers, for being here with me. I'm so thankful for having you with me. I'm so thankful for every single subscriber, every single donation you have made to my PayPal, and everything that you've contributed with to my channel and to my experience. I'm really thankful to you. I hope that I am helping you make better decisions in audio and in life in general, and I hope that you will have a lovely week out there. Please come back to my next video, press subscribe if you enjoyed the video, also give me a like if you want me to keep up this style. I thank you so much for watching, and we'll see each other really soon. Bye bye.